So it's been almost exactly 2 months since I did the Book of the Week Club. And I did 10 books in a row, 10 weeks in a row, and I finished around April 12th, I think was the last one. Today is Sunday, June the 14th, and this is book number 11. Now, if you're listening to this on the I Love Kelowna podcast, this will be episode 100. And I decided because it's so easy to convert a video into audio, might as well release it as an I Love Kelowna podcast also. If you want to get the first 10 book reviews, you can follow me on Facebook, Luke Joseph Menkes, and you don't even have to be a friend of mine to follow because all these videos are published publicly. Of course, add me as a friend if you'd like, but I'm not going to bother to convert the first 10 book reviews to audio. It's just too tedious. I wasn't exactly set up for it with the microphone and so on. But if you're interested in the first 10 book reviews, you can go ahead and check me out on Facebook. So this is book number 11. And this week I decided to cover Brian Tracy, The Universal Laws of Success and Achievement. Now, I'm not sure, but I think this book is about 30 years old, maybe 35 years old, late 80s, early 90s. He talks a lot about audio cassettes, right? Education through cassette tapes and so on. And he doesn't reference the internet in any of his conversation. So what is cool about this book, though, is the universal laws of success and achievement. They pertain throughout all ages, all time periods. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, young, old, whatever nationality, race, ethnic background you are, these laws are universal. So if you don't know about Brian Tracy, he's a really interesting character. It's hard to explain. Like his voice, it's not monotone, but it's very monochromatic, if that makes sense. Like it's very predictable. Okay, but it's very smooth and it's very soothing and it's very articulate. So he is a great reader. I've talked a lot about different audiobooks and how, certain types of reading appeal to us better than others. Well, he's one of the types that I like. I couldn't listen to him continuously forever, but he's definitely someone that is so smart and so crystal clear. There's no ambiguity in what he's talking about. So Brian spent his life seeking the answer to the question, what are the universal laws of success? Because he had a concept that everybody, no matter what country they're in or what their background is, self-made people must have certain traits in common. And he came to that conclusion, and then he sought out to find the answer. What are those common traits that people have? He didn't study this in university. He studied this just by observing people as a deckhand, as a farm worker, as a construction worker, as a factory worker. And these laws and principles that he learned have made him a millionaire many times over. And as I said, these laws apply in every time and place, and they can be used by anyone to enhance his or her life. Now, some of these principles were written about as far back as 2000 BC by the ancient Egyptians, and they have been mentioned in literally thousands of books throughout the centuries. So if you're really determined to achieve your personal best, this is one book that you don't want to be without. So in this book, Brian talks about using the Socratic law to help you turn your goals and dreams into reality. Now, Socrates was one of the first philosophers I learned about in university. My double major was philosophy and political science, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And they said a good pre-law course is philosophy and political science because it teaches you, first of all, political science teaches you how systems work and how government is structured. And philosophy teaches you basically how to argue, like how to formulate arguments, right? So they said it was good training for a lawyer. Another story for another day, but I dropped out of university after 2 years in, and I got my real estate license. It's a fascinating story. I won't talk about it today, but Socrates was a really interesting character. Socrates didn't write anything. His student Plato wrote all about Socrates. What Socrates would do would be he would challenge people to debates, and he would ask them a series of leading questions and in order to get to the truth. So if you were BSing and you were not telling the truth, you would get boxed into a corner rhetorically. And if you were on a sincere path of discovery, these questions would help you to discover the truth. The best person I can think of today in 2020 that uses the Socratic method when arguing with people is Tucker Carlson. If you ever watch the Tucker Carlson show, you will see he will set up a series of questions, and the person will get to a point where he says, but previously you said your principle on this tax policy was this. So how does that reconcile with what you said over here? And quite often it'll become a heated debate, but often it's also a really enlightening debate where people can have an honest discussion. So use the Socratic law on yourself to elicit answers that can lead to an insight or a conclusion. So, for example, how do I know that this is what I should be doing for a living? How do I know that this might be profitable if I try this business, and so on? You ask yourself a series of questions to reach a conclusion. Another thing in the book is we can improve our relationships through the law of communication. Everything in life, so when it comes to marriage, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to business, everything is about relationships. And the law of communication says the better we get at communicating, which involves listening, of course, the better we get at communicating, the better our relationships will be. Another principle of success is implement the law of practice and develop successful habits. So the video I did this afternoon about practice, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at something. Of course, correct practice is important. So you think of Tiger Woods. He had a coach from a very young age who started off as his father, but he always had a great coach who would help him adjust his swing. So practicing something wrong over and over again is not good. It takes longer to unravel it. But if you can do correct practice and you can do it frequently, you will be successful. Another principle in this book was keep business booming with the laws of purpose, the law of quality, and the law of innovation. And I won't get into all of them now, so I want to keep these videos under 12 minutes. Guarantee your personal satisfaction with the law of integrity. The law of integrity is basically saying that the more harmonious your outer world is with your inner world, then you're living in integrity. You're going to feel personally satisfied, no matter what the outcome. Apply the law of decision to assert yourself in any decision. So the most successful people make the most decisions. They're constantly making decisions. And the first thing you need to do is recognize that even if you decide not to make a decision, that in itself is a decision. So we're always making decisions. The question is, are we good at making decisions or not? Let's see. Fulfill positive expectations with the law of visualization. So if you want something, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, you need to visualize it. You need to teach yourself, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? Who's involved in the scene, right? When you do that on a repetitive basis, you will find the path to get there. Let's see. Focus your activities for success through the law of ambition. That is, if you eagerly desire something, if you're ambitious for something, your odds of success are much greater. Another one, use the law of empathy to improve negotiations. So negotiation is simply a process of finding a solution for yourself and the other party or the other parties. That's what negotiation is. It's coming to a common solution that everybody is happy with, right? It's not a win-lose thing. It's not like bullying someone. That's not really negotiation. That may be an exercise of power, but negotiation is really finding common ground to find a solution. And in order to be great at negotiation, you need to use empathy. You need to become good at empathy. And the last one I'll talk about is the law of attraction. So the law of attraction will bring about the circumstances that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. Now, the law of attraction has been spoken about a lot. It is not some kind of woo-woo, far-out thing. It's simply this. Let's say you have a desire to get a red car. You just always wanted a red sports car. What's going to happen is you're going to start to notice red sports cars every time they appear. And that is the part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And all it means is that when you're focused on something, you're focused on something. The brain is absorbing billions of bits of information every minute, but you can only focus on one or two things at a time. So when you're focused on something, you're going to attract it to you. And it's not because of some magic, but it's because you're focused on it. You're recognizing opportunities where they would have passed you by before. So let's say, for example, you had a mission to find a quarter, like a 25-cent piece on the ground, and you spent all your time looking for it. Well, you're going to find that far faster and easier than someone who's not even thinking about it, right? So that's what the law of attraction is. It's really thinking about the thing that you want and observing, and you'll start to notice ways to get there, okay? So I personally have heard some of these laws off and on throughout my life, but having them all in one place in this book really helps me to learn better how business works. Brian Tracy, I would have to say, is definitely part of my personal business development and personal education. I really do like the sound of Brian's voice. It's different than, the guy, I forget his name, who covered the Trump book. I think that was the first or second book I covered. That guy just has a real alpha male, it kind of gives you a thrill in a warrior sense. You know what I mean? It's different. Brian Tracy to me is like your kind professor or a grandfather who was like super wise and smart, just a very soothing voice. So it's different, but I do love the sound of his voice. I've got several of his audio books, and he's got tons, he's got dozens. So for whatever it's worth, I suggest you collect some of those. The principles are pretty easy to understand. The hard part is applying them in your life, right? So we really don't benefit from the things that we learn unless we learn to apply them in our life. So that's the reason that I want to do this Book of the Week Club, because it helps to cement the ideas in my head just by talking to you about it, right? So the thing is, you have to really think about these things. Now, it's good to have on background. If you're just doing chores, doing the dishes, vacuuming, you got your headphones on, that's fine. I'm not saying you have to sit down with a notepad and be all professorial, or all studious. But if you can concentrate at least for parts of it, that's better. And if you can listen to a great book 2, 3, 4 times, that's going to really impact you. Every time you listen to it, you're going to get more out of it. So really simple to understand principles, as I mentioned, but applying them takes a little more effort, a little more thinking. And I find repetition really helps with that. You're just going to automatically see situations and be able to apply those principles. So about 15 minutes, that is episode 100 of the I Love Kelowna podcast, which until now has been an interview program and will continue. We have 62 more episodes to edit and produce and release, interviews that I've already done. And once a week, we're going to inject this monologue Book of the Week Club. So I hope you enjoyed that. That is Brian Tracy, The Universal Laws of Success and achievement. And next week, I've already started this great book, and it applies to me so well. It's called Call Reluctance, How I Conquered Call Reluctance, Fear of Self-Promotion, and Increased My Prospecting. This book is by an author who was great in sales, closed a lot of big deals. He was a great negotiator, but he really had a hesitation picking up the phone. And for whatever reason, he had a bad experience in his late teens on the telephone, and it kind of, put him in this spot where it took him decades to really get past it. And he decided his purpose in life would be to help other people get past. I'll see you next week. Have a great day.